It's common to feel unworthy of love, but uncommon to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. We want you to know your worth so you remind others of theirs. I am your host, Eryn Eddy Adkins, and this is the So Worth Loving podcast. Terence, how long have we known each other?
I don't know. A lot of years, right?
A lot of years. Did we first meet at that conference we spoke at? I was trying to remember, or was it through Plywood that we met at like a other conference?
I think we met at Plywood, but then it was more like approximate, relationship when we spoke at the conference together.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been knowing you though.
Yeah. Same.
From afar.
Yeah. From afar.
Then,
yeah.
Now on the podcast.
Now you're here.
Yeah.
Do you remember the day in the green room at that conference when we first connected?
I do. I think many leaders in that room were heavy. I recall a lot of vulnerability, but also this deep commitment of trust, faith.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I'll never forget it.
Well, I remember I think it was imposter syndrome, or I was just feeling really insecure. I was probably comparing myself in the room. I feel like you can do that in those rooms. And
always, yeah.
It was almost like I didn't want to be in that room in some ways too.
Yeah.
But I remember us connecting and talking about how it's hard to do what you do. It's hard purpose. It was there was a intersection of purpose that we were both kind of at.
Yeah.
Question marks.
Yeah, those rooms, let's name the rooms. Mm-hmm. What do we mean by those rooms?
Yeah.
Known speaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe the speaker has a lot of followers.
Yeah.
Then there's this whole other element. It's being recorded. There's an audience outside.
Yep.
There's this weight to perform.
Yep.
Versus being, your true authentic self. You talking about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those rooms.
Those rooms. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just remember when we were talking, we found ourselves connecting with, there were two other leaders in that room that also kind of didn't want to be in that room, but it's because too, they were questioning their own stuff, and you would never know it.
Yeah.
You would never know. I would have never known that you were wrestling with whether it was purpose. Should I keep doing this? I'm exhausted. I'm drained. And you would never know that about me.
Yeah.
Until we started just having honest conversations, and it was gosh, this is so freeing.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about it though is, to be a leader is to wrestle. And I think, what society does, right, is it places people on pedestals and it creates this persona where leaders don't feel comfortable or safe being their true authentic selves, or even having the safety to be vulnerable about the ebbs and flows of leadership.
Yeah.
And every leader that I've ever encountered has that side to themselves.
Yeah.
And, some are authentic and vulnerable, and some just continue to hide behind the persona. But that's not what really connects with me.
Yeah.
It's very weird to be in those rooms, right?
Yeah. It is.
Especially around people who prop themselves up and don't let their guards down in a way that really connects to the heart, and it becomes performative.
Yeah.
Performative leadership.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Performative leadership.
Yeah.
When I'm around that, I struggle with man, should I be that way? But I'm not that way. Or I feel it's almost I give it this badge of they're just more qualified. These people are more qualified.
Like a comparison thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've always been a voice of, I've just admired you from afar, and then as a friend, someone that is genuinely themselves off camera, on camera, wherever you are who you are. And you've been an encourager to me of my voice. That was one of the reasons why I wanted
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
thank you
always been like, you've always inspired me to be authentic, and you've reminded me that my voice matters. I mean, you've been that friend to me. We all need a friend like that, and you've been that to me.
I appreciate that. Gosh, I don't know how to follow that up, but I will say this. Being real is one of the greatest ways that I've been able to maintain my faith. And it's one of those things that reminds me of how important grace is, and how much I need that grace to sustain the work I do, the way that I show up and love my wife and my family, the way that I lead, right? And I think, it also reduces, this ability or this desire to want to compare myself to other people. Part of that is because I'm always remembering what God has done for me, where God has brought me from, and how God has walked with me every step of the way. And that makes me just want to remain real. Like, I'm not trying to use my faith to create a platform to be self-servient, right? To serve myself and just to always be about ego. I want to use a platform, if God chooses to give me one, to show other people, how do you take that grace of God and allow it to move you to serve other people? You know what I mean? And I feel like we don't have enough of that right now.
I completely agree. Yeah.
There's a quote that we actually have on our T-shirts that we sell that says, "It's too many public figures and not enough servant leaders." Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Where would you share where God has brought you from to say that what you do now?
Yeah, I think right now at this present moment, I'm probably more aware of, personal grief that I may carry as a leader, the trauma that I've experienced, also my own shortcomings, as well as, my strengths. Like, I'm probably more just aware of that. And I think, a lot of that is related to, just recent tragedies that I've suffered, me and my family have suffered in recent years. And
you guys have been through a lot.
Yeah, through a lot. And it's funny, last year I lost my dad, and I haven't really talked about this, but I was serving my dad, and I had become a caregiver to him. I was in the hospital probably a little over 100 days leading up to his transition. But prior to that, the very hospital that I was serving my father in was the same hospital that I could not walk in. And when I mean I could not walk, obviously, in 2022, I was in a car accident, very severe. I remember waking up on the ground because my wife was driving a car hit us, and I blacked out, woke up in this hospital, same hospital my dad was in, and had an orthopedic surgeon standing over my body telling me that they had to perform like emergency surgery, right? Wow. My body was in pain, but I didn't know that I had severe nerve damage. My pelvis had broken my pelvis. My hip was broken, all of those things. And they had to do this surgery to pull my leg forward, put weights on my leg so my femur wouldn't cause further damage. And I was in the hospital for over a month, and it took me almost a year to learn how to walk again. And so you talk about going from being highly active in the community, because I lead an organization, being mobile, speaking everywhere, and then suddenly one night after celebrating what we would call successful, an award that our organization received, we go out to celebrate, and next thing I know, I'm waking up in the hospital having someone tell me that it probably would be a year to a year and a half before I could walk again.
Wow. When
I start to recover in 2023, that's when my dad went in the hospital. So you talk about, wrestling through grief and having to realize that my worth is not connected to mobility, right? And having God just remind me that I'm loved, regardless if I could move or not. And just processing all that grief, and then having to show up and, also serve again my father, and walking through all of that.
Yeah.
And how God used my family to remind me that he was still there, that he was still present. The way that my wife cared for me, like when I couldn't walk to the mailbox. I couldn't get out of the bed for months. Wow. I was taking a little over 20 pills a day just to cope with the pain, 2 hours of sleep, the way that my children would step up and serve. And they were younger at the time, right? And like when we would be out in public, if someone was making fun of me because of my disability, because I was in a wheelchair, my daughter would speak up.
People would make fun of you?
Oh, yeah.
What would they say?
Yeah, I have videos that I haven't shared on social media. I remember one time this lady in front of everybody just started yelling at me because I was taking up her space. I remember one time we went into this restaurant and I was struggling to get into the restaurant because of the door size, which, the way the buildings are designed for those who are living with a disability sometimes can be very marginalizing and, excluding. But I go into this restaurant, we finally make it in, and, it was tight turns or whatever. And there was this mother and this child, they were sitting at a table in the back by the restroom. And so I had to literally get up out of my wheelchair and use a walker to try to move around. And I told my family that I wanted to try to go to the restroom on my own with my walker because I was learning how to maneuver again. And I was walking towards the restroom. My children was kind of trailing me. And this mother was doing what I was doing, making these movements to her child, and they started laughing at me.
What?
Yeah, I'll never forget that. Never forget that moment. And I go in the moment like, what are you teaching your children in relationship to how to treat people in this world? Yeah. And that's when I really started to realize that even in my own suffering, that God was even revealing to me more of like my own heart and compassion and my calling, and why it's so important to live in a way to serve others. Wow. Yeah. So that was heavy.
No, let's go there. We always go there. I feel like in our conversations. How didn't you have, okay, I have so many questions. With that, what did that experience teach you about friendship?
Man, whenever you're going through grief or suffering or trauma, I think one of the greatest moments of clarity that you get is who is present, right? I used to say that it's not necessarily about who is standing with you on the mountaintops, but who is like holding your arms in the valley, right? Yeah. And it shows you a lot about relationships. One, it shows you who's present, but two, it shows you who hasn't really had capacity to deal with their own trauma and grief. And I had to grow in that, right? Because there is a part of me, I'm like, man, where are all the people who are supposed to, you know, who was there like when I was on the news or writing books and all these things, and those people weren't present. And then I realized that some people have never had practice with being proximate to people who are suffering, or proximate to people who are wrestling with grief. And it redefined how I understood my own boundaries that I need to have in my own life. But then it started to make me realize that there are so many people suffering and they've never had anybody to stand with them. And so it's this dual relationship of, I know who you are, but I also have grace towards you because there are so many people suffering.
Man, that had to take a lot to get to that point. A lot of forgiveness.
Yeah. I mean,
that's hard to do.
And you have to go through all of the emotions.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's, you know, denial and anger or, you know, being despondent and low. But I think a large part of my growth, right, is it came as a practice of inviting people in that I could have these open and safe conversations with.
Yeah.
I definitely think that therapy is something that is shunned by people.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, one is it's a cultural thing, you know, but two, I think that it's really hard to face yourself. It's really hard to face yourself. And it's really hard to develop emotional intelligence and then sit with those emotions and befriend them in a way that they can speak to you about where you are in life. That's hard.
That's really hard.
It's so easy to avoid. It's so easy to hide. It's so easy to distract yourself with busyness, you know, even like pursuit of prestige or clout, social clout, or, you know, social media followers. And you can mask a lot of your pain, your grief, and your trauma with all of those things. And I think, you know, that if you are someone who is doing that and you still feel the void, then maybe God may be telling you it's time to go through a real healing process.
That's good.
And yeah, so I had a therapist that I was working with that walked with me through a lot of grief. And he says, I want you to shift your focus from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. And it was that little tweak in that one word. And I started doing all this research about post-traumatic growth and how you can actually grow through things that have happened to you that you did not cause on yourself. And then I started to see all of these beautiful, you know, truths about what I had learned as a result of going through the situation. And so
I love that.
Yeah.
PTSG.
Yeah. Yeah. Because whenever you have any type of trauma, it automatically causes you to adopt a belief.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right. And that belief becomes more of like a norm, and it influences how you show up in the world, and it can change your behavior and all of those things. And man, it's like, once you really grow through the process, you start to interrogate those thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you can adopt a new belief.
Yeah.
And I think that's where hope comes from. You know, it's a shift of saying, God left me, or I'm walking through this alone, to realizing how much value and worth you still have, how trauma and grief never takes away your value, how God shows up in glimmers of hope, maybe through a conversation or someone opening the door if you are in a wheelchair, to even the community members. In my case, I lead a nonprofit, but community members telling you how much they missed your presence. I mean, it could show up in a multitude of ways, and it's up to you to listen.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest things that you can do when you are navigating any type of worth crisis.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. I like that. Worth crisis. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that domain available?
Worthcrisis.net.
.net.
Yeah.
That's true, though.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. There's ownership, too. And so then you kind of, when you can go through, I love the, post-traumatic stress growth, right?
Yeah.
Is that what that is? When you can grow from it, you are taking ownership versus it owning you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like it's shifting your perspective of what has happened to me. You never forget that part.
Yeah.
And you're starting to ask the question, what is coming from this? Right?
And say that again. So instead of saying, this happened to me.
Yeah. What is coming from this?
What is coming from this?
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. So it's like, I still feel the pain of people being mean towards those who are living with a disability. But then what is coming from this, I have greater compassion, more capacity to serve, more relatability, more awareness, more language around grief and the experience, more articulation, more wisdom, more worth. You like I did?
Look at that. That was so good. I think I'm going to make that a commercial.
Yeah.
That's going to be the teaser. That's going to be the trailer.
Yeah.
That was good, T.
Yeah. But I have to ask you though, and I know you're, so we started out talking about being in that room, right? What is giving you that freedom, to talk about worth openly in a way that is not restrictive or bound? Because most times, like when we talk about worth, it's always like you're so worth it. Like,
like fluffy.
Fluffy.
It's fluffy and it's like happy and sunshine.
Yeah.
But it's like the most messiest, hardest, darkest times.
Right.
And sometimes I think facing yourself is that. Right? Like, it's like you have to find the dark corners and face them. I had a therapist on one of our episodes, and she shared the difference between, so a cow, when a storm comes, tries to outrun the storm, so it runs away from the storm.
Yeah.
And a buffalo goes directly into the storm.
Yeah.
And I loved that analogy. It's going towards the thing. And so I think what makes me passionate and have a new inspiration about having conversations about worth. I've said it all the years of So Worth Loving, that it's common to feel unworthy of love, but uncommon to talk about it. But I don't think we can talk about it enough. Like, we need to talk about it more.
Yeah.
We judge people, we normalize behavior. We don't know how to be friends with people. We don't know how to have compassion towards people.
That friends part is deep.
It's true. Yeah. And it all stems from, I believe it stems from the core of believing we are worth loving. I really do believe that. And I've struggled with that. I've struggled with the relationship with it, because it still sometimes feels so abstract to me that I can't fully grasp it. It's because I want to make it black and white, and sometimes I don't think it is. I think it's so gray.
Yeah, and I think that's where the greatest growth comes from, the gray. Because when things are uniform or programmed, then it's robotic. You know, and I don't think when things are like too prescriptive, there's no room for growth and maturity and wisdom. You know, it's only when you run towards the storms and you confront that you allow the experience to change you. Yeah. And I think that is that part that people are also scared of. Like,
I think you're right.
I'm scared of like being changed.
Yeah.
But it's not changed in a bad way.
Right. It could actually be a really good change, but even really good change is scary because and people treat you differently with good change too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they change. And I think that.
And then you got to learn to let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's grief associated with that.
And you don't, and then it's like people aren't who you thought they were, or there's that too.
Yeah. Speaking of people.
Yeah.
People are so peoply. No, people are peoply. They're gonna people all the time, right?
People are peoply. Tell me what your peoply do.
Well, I mean, people are inconsistent. People are messy. People have a lot of drama. People won't be your friend when you need them the most. People will let you down. People will disappoint you. People will talk about you. People will project their own trauma and grief on you. People will blame you. People will leave you. But you still got to love people.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
That's so hard.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So how do you do that?
Because people are so worth loving. You see what I did? No, but realizing that we are imperfect. And
it's the compassion piece, I think, too. It's like you gotta have compassion
with boundaries. Compassion with boundaries.
What does that look like? What have you learned with that?
Well, I think you have to be a really great discerner of people. And people normally function in patterns. And so you could tell a lot about a person, well, if their speech or language or rhetoric aligns with their actions, you know, how they show up in the world, how they treat other people, you know, how you treat other people also says a lot about what's in your heart. So I'm also like really always paying attention of like what's in a person's heart. And it's not to say like people have to be perfect, but I'm looking for if a person is able to own their mistakes and take responsibility and be real, be messy, you know, like be their full selves, you know, and I think that's a good determinant of whether I feel safe around people. Yeah. And when you feel safe around people, you know, you feel this connection and community where you feel this sense of belonging, where you can be vulnerable and all those things. I think those things are important, right? You have those category of people. But then you have people who have other telltale signs, and sometimes you have to create, you know, stronger boundaries, protect yourself in a way where you don't put yourself in harm's way, but you still don't close yourself off to people because you never know how you show up in the world may be impactful to them. I think it's a good balance between the two. Like you have to be discerning, you have to pay attention, and you can't be naive. Yeah. But at the same time, you don't allow the way that people are to make your heart harden. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So that
I follow Jesus and I love people, but I don't want to have nothing to do with people. You can't just be out here like, you know what I mean? Yes. Withholding God's love, right?
Withholding God's love. That's true. Yeah. I know a few people that just popped in my brain just now. I probably have done that a time or two, I'm sure.
We all have.
Radical acceptance. Have you heard that term?
Yes.
What are you?
I heard it first from Father Gregory Boyle.
What'd he say?
Who actually, he wrote the foreword to my second book, When We Stand. But I actually met him for the first time in person, gosh, it had to be like 2019 or something. Wow. At a plywood conference. We were on a panel together, but I had become aware of his work. One year I flew out to California. He started this organization, and I stood outside on the street corner and I looked at his organization and had this epiphany.
Yeah.
I'm going to do, the work that I feel called to. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know 6 years later I would be on a panel with him, and we're sitting there and people were asking about, how do you, serve those who are impoverished, and how do you, and he said, well, it was the question was directed towards me, and I tried to give some philosophical answer. I started quoting Henry Nouwen, right?
Yeah.
And, Father Boyle, he's much older than me. He says, "Oh yeah, I remember when Henry Nouwen said that. I was in his class."
What? That's awesome.
And he was dead serious. Like, he was taught by Henry Nouwen, this great spiritual writer who has since passed away. And we had that instant connection. But he started talking about compassion and radical acceptance. He says that, to love people without any prerequisites is to radically accept them where they are. And that has always been my posture of service. And that's one of the most beautiful things that I love about the way in which we see Jesus in the scriptures. I love those little phrases in the text where it says, "And Jesus saw." It's like so simple, but
no, but it's profound.
It's so profound because I think that type of seeing is seeing a person's humanity, acknowledging their existence. It's seeing their mistakes and their shortcomings, but also their room for growth, their potential.
Yeah.
It's the type of seeing that, it's without judgment and it's full of love and grace. But the thing that follows up each and every time is that Jesus got proximate. And he didn't allow all of those preconceived notions or prerequisites that other people had towards whoever he approached to stop him. And I think that is the greatest form of radical acceptance.
That's good.
As an example that we see.
Yeah. Gosh.
And I want to be like that.
I want to be like that too. That made me get emotional. What came up for you? Man, I think that we withhold love from people that aren't performing like we think they should.
You could put that on a t-shirt.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
It's merch.
Yeah, that's merch.
Yeah.
I think that we do that. And I know that I have done that in the past. And I see friends or I see family do that. And
you're owning that you had that in the past.
Oh, for sure.
What broke you free from that?
Desiring to be loved, and people like my parents were like ride or die with me during the darkest days. I don't know how they loved me the way that they did.
Wow.
Oof. There was no like, there was no condition. It wasn't like, well, if you do these things, then we'll show patience and kindness and slow to anger and love, the definitions of love. It was like they just loved anyways. And we're called to love, but we get it so confused with performance.
Yeah. With conditions. Yeah. And people are suffering. And
yeah,
I have to tell this story. Like yesterday, I spoke at a college, and it was for a Black History program, but there were all types of students there from all different ethnic backgrounds, nationalities. And I'm giving this talk. I'm talking about, my subject field, which is homelessness policy, talking about my own story. And I covered this recent event that happened like a week ago today. This lady, her name is Tatiana Williams in Detroit, was sleeping in a van in a casino garage, and her 2 children passed away from hypothermia.
Oh.
Her son, 9 years old, her daughter, 2. And talking about all these things and how we judge people who may be from a different social location or holding a sign, the child who has to go to school without the right size clothing or shoes, people who are living out of motels, who are suffering, and all of these things. And I'm giving a compassionate plea.
Yeah.
That it's togetherness is how we change the subject. It's proximity how we change this issue, because people are suffering in desperate need of love. Towards the end, right, I get to the Q&A after giving this like 45-minute speech or lecture. This young lady is sitting in the back. She raises her hand, microphone comes to her, and she's on the microphone, and she says, in front of everybody, me and my mom recently became unhoused, and we're staying in a motel. And my mom has shared with me she feels like she's slipping into depression, and I see it. And she says, I also feel like that, in front of all of these other college students, right?
Wow.
This other college student gets on the microphone and starts talking about her journey. And the young lady, she asked me, like, what am I supposed to do with it? And I responded how important it is not to hide in shame, but to name it. That there's liberation in naming, that there's community and connection in naming, that you don't have to hide. And in that moment, there's a social worker that's a part of the school stood up, and she had all these resources. And just like that, they made a connection. Wow. And I say to myself on the ride home, man, because I still get chills. Like, even if I went for that one person, that one student, to have the courage to name something out loud and not feel shame and feel validated in their sense of worth, despite what her and her mom was going through, then it was worth it. And it just reminds me of like what you're saying, of how God will pursue you. Through a community of support. And sometimes it's so overwhelming. And you feel so undeserving. But you're worth it.
It's hard to receive it. It's almost like you want to punish yourself more than receive it sometimes. Or just like we talked about earlier, like not
Which is a form of self-rejection. And believing the lies or the false narratives that you have playing in your head. Maybe that may be informed by, childhood trauma or the way that you have been taught to believe about yourself. Maybe it's been situational, circumstantial. Maybe it's just like you've never had a conversation with someone who's giving you an alternative perspective, that growth part. Fuel. Fuel is how you move through emotions. One, you have to feel it. Right.
Ooh, okay. Feel it.
Feel the emotion. Right. Some people try to suppress or run from it. So you got to feel it. Once you feel it, right, that gives you an opportunity to get understanding. Right.
Understanding.
Once you get an understanding, you can express it. And then the L is, the expression gives you an option to let go.
Wow. Fuel.
Yeah.
Feel, understand, express, let go.
Yeah.
Where'd you learn that?
One of my mentors, he's a psychologist. And, you know, I have a clinical background. My mom is a doctor of in clinical field. My sister is clinician. So we're always having conversations about these important truths. And when he categorized this and just gave this simple phrase, you know, obviously there's a lot to that process, but it just makes it so tangible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you have the courage to feel. You don't have to run away from your emotions.
Right.
You have the courage, and you have the right to feel.
Right.
Whether it's angry or sad or disappointed or upset or lonely or, and those are real emotions, and you don't have to run away from those. Right.
Yeah.
But you also can understand it. Like, you can talk about these things in ways where you open up, and maybe somebody else may give you a perspective that you haven't even given yourself space to think about.
Yeah.
And then you can express it. And you don't have to like express it like in a way that's performative. Like, you could talk about your real emotions and the way that you understand it, and really sit with those things where it can give you the opportunity or invitation to grow from it. And the growth part, you're not letting go to say this never happened.
Right.
But you're letting go to free yourself up to move forward.
Yeah. It's like forgiveness.
Yeah.
You're forgiving, and forgiving is not saying what they did was okay.
No.
But it's to release yourself also from them.
Yeah.
You know, you said proximity, and I'm just so moved by that story of how that young woman stood up and was so brave to share where she was at. And then somebody stood up to say, I can help.
Yeah.
Like
naming.
Yeah.
Naming can set you free.
Reminds me of when you said proximity. When I had the store in East Atlanta, I had a friend, his name was Holyfield. He was like he felt like a grandpa to me. Like, he was like one of my, I'm emotional today on this podcast. He was like, just such a sweet, incredible man. And he was experiencing homelessness, and I would see people treat him just so awful, like just disposable. And he would always have a sass back, and he would come inside and hang out with me in my office, and he would sing. He had the most beautiful voice. And I remember there was one really bad day. I had a really bad day. It was probably like with something going on. I go outside, and I'm sitting beside him, and I'm like, he's drinking something, and he says to me, "What's going on?" He would call me Little Bit. What's going on, Little Bit?
Calls you a little bit.
He's like, "What's going on, Little Bit?" I said, "Man," it's just been a bad day. And he's like, and he would always give me like just the best words of encouragement. And I just thought, I'm coming out here, I'm sitting and I'm talking with Holyfield, who people dispose of. They don't think that he has anything to offer because of his living situation.
Yeah.
And he's speaking life into me. And when you said proximity, I mean, he became like, he was part of our family.
Wow.
For a couple years before he passed away. I was so changed by that relationship.
Yeah.
And every bit of it was because of proximity.
Yeah.
And it was allowing or not allowing the stereotypes of what people say about people experiencing homelessness.
Right.
It was to look past and see that it's a person.
That's right.
And I would love for you to share like some of your work, what you've witnessed, what you do in that realm, Terence, because you've opened up my eyes even more in just my ignorance and even how to talk about people experiencing homelessness.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people don't even know how to talk about it, terminologies. that we don't realize that are actually degrading and belittling a person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, wow, it's such a powerful story. Shout out to Holyfield. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Because I think there is a part of, like I wrote this book, I See You, right? And it's not ableism in terms of, because some people aren't unable to see. But when I talk about seeing, I'm talking about acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Acknowledgement of one's existence, one's story, one's contribution in terms of thought or gifting, skill set, just the whole person, right? Most times when we think about a person who is unhoused or experiencing homelessness, we can't see past the second and third hand information that we received that has influenced the way we see people, right? And we allow something as small as an address dictate how we show up in proximity with our neighbors without an address. And I always try to tell people, like, it's about the whole community, right?
Yeah.
I've said this many times in talks, that if I didn't have a truck, you wouldn't call me truckless.
Right.
Or if I didn't have a car, you wouldn't call me carless.
Right.
Homelessness is really, it's one of those issues that I consider a justice issue, where you can be labeled for something that you don't have and then punished for trying to survive it, which is deep,
Yeah.
And we got to change that. And so, like, even reframing the way that we talk about a person who is unhoused, like, I never put the issue first. I always try to center the person. That's why I say unhoused or a person experiencing homelessness.
Right.
Because homelessness is not a person, it's an experience.
Right.
One day you can be unhoused and the next day you can have stable housing.
Yeah.
And you've gone through the experience. And, the work that we've done with our organization with advocacy, educating people about this issue, ensuring that people who are unhoused have access to those resources, whether they help them survive, recover identification, have access to something as basic as a shower.
Yeah.
I remember giving this talk in Washington, D.C. at this National Sanitation and Hygiene Conference. And I was in this room, I was on the panel, and I was the only person that was representing the subject of homelessness. And everybody's talking about, we need access to restrooms here and, sanitation here. And I brought up the subject of where do people who are unhoused get a chance to wash their hands or have access to a restroom or walk into a space and not allow the lack of something dictate whether they belong in a space or not. When do we have conversations about creating the type of belonging in society where we are talking about the whole community? And that also includes a person without an address, right?
Yeah.
When do we talk about all of the overlapping issues that, when you don't have an identification card because maybe you lost all your documents in a public encampment sweep, right? And now you need ID to get ID, but you need an address to prove that you need ID. And so many of these very nuanced things that people don't really consider, and how this community just needs community and needs people to stand with them. And that's what we do through our organization, Love Beyond Walls. We've seen people go from living out of cars to getting housing, or, people having access to recover their identification cards. We launched this museum. Another cool story is, so we started it's the first museum in the United States that represents the subject of homelessness. It's called the Dignity Museum.
It's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It's amazing.
We were leading tours, and a family member found their aunt in the museum. They had been out of touch for 5 years.
What?
Yeah, and their aunt passed away from COVID 2020, but their aunt's picture is on the side of our box truck. The family allowed us to put it on the side of our box truck, so Miss Caller's legacy would live on. But, you know, it's just some of those things where like homelessness is not monolithic, right? It's not one size fits all. And we need to think very differently about it.
We generalize and we assume that somebody that's experiencing homelessness is addicted to drugs or an alcoholic. And that's... But,
come to the museum.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and those are also factors, right? You know, but it's not the leading trigger of with the experience of homelessness. Right now, it's job loss and inability to afford. So, like, I don't want to like start talking about too much research, but in my field, when you study the history of homelessness, there's two mass eras of homelessness. One starts in the Great Depression, and then one during the 1980s with deinstitutionalization period, right? Okay. Where all of these, you know, service providers are shut down, which generates what we now know as mass chronic homelessness. Is when you walk outside and you see somebody standing on the street corner. Research shows now that we're headed into a third mass era of homelessness, which is this era where it's unaffordability. And we are starting to see a rise in the data, people who are becoming unhoused, who have never been unhoused a day in their lives because just housing costs. Like I remember doing research in the state of Tennessee. I was in 4 cities when I was working on my dissertation. I'm a PhD. No, but the reporter, right? I was shooting a documentary to defend my research because I wanted to do street interviews of people who are unhoused, because I was trying to understand, like, I was asking this question: how does public policy or the way that people treat this community impacts their sense of self-worth? And I was doing these interviews and I was asking worth questions. And people who are unhoused would say all sorts of things. I don't feel like I belong in the community. Even the church is partnering with, you know, XYZ to make me feel like I don't belong. Like, I remember standing in a parking lot and people who were in this church, I was in Memphis, Tennessee, came out and shooed us all away, all the people who were unhoused. And I'm like, man, Jesus says foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. And here it is. We have people who say they follow Jesus was being mean and disingenuous towards this population. And so I was really wrestling with this idea of worth. But then I had this news reporter interviewing me, and off camera, the reporter said that the cost was so expensive in Nashville that they couldn't even afford to live there. And how, you know, a 1-bedroom apartment or loft was closer to $2,000. And this it's just out of touch for people, right? And sometimes we get into this whole affordability conversation, but housing that's affordable is not affordable for those who have career jobs. You know what I mean? And it's just, so I don't want to get too far into all of that stuff, but man, just basically, we just gotta create more space, listen to people's stories, realize that, you know, someone who is unhoused may be somebody's mom or cousin or aunt or brother or uncle or grandma or grandpa, you know, somebody's father. And nobody is born and says, oh, sign me up. To not have an address. And then I just realized that the fastest growing population of people who are unhoused aren't even adults. It's children under the age of 9. And it just kind of helps you to level set and say, let me just rethink this. Because at any given point, what I'm saying with the third, it could be me. But for the grace of God, there go I. And why would you want to withhold, you know, the love of God from somebody else who is in desperate need to be reminded that they're so worth loving? Why?
That's good. You interviewed, to your point, you interviewed somebody, I can't remember his name, but he was unhoused, and he was unhoused because his mom passed away. Do you remember that guy on your YouTube channel? His mom passed away.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And he shared how that was...
He suffers alone.
Yes.
He sits in the corner sometimes and he tears up because he has nowhere to express it. And on that podcast, he felt relief because that was the first time he was able to share. Yeah, I remember my brother. And you know, we are human beings, address or not. We're so worth loving, address or not. All of us want to be seen in some way, right? Whether in our families or in our professional careers, in our relationships. Like, and when I talk about seeing, I'm talking about being acknowledged.
Yeah.
Like in my research, I argue that home is more than just four walls and a roof.
Right.
It's a place where you're accepted, where you feel this sense of belonging, and where you're able to connect with community, right? And if we use that basic definition of home outside of the realm of a physical space, then we have to ask the question, are we being home to people?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is even what I'm trying to do on the podcast, is to be home to somebody, even if they don't have a physical location. Are you being home to your children, to your wife, to your community at church, or wherever it is? And I want to be home to people. Like, I want people to feel safe in my presence, or feel the freedom to be vulnerable and find the courage to be vulnerable. I think that is a true measure of if you're really following Jesus or not.
Whew. You changed me in this podcast. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
That was good, T. Where can people find you?
Online? No.
We can put it in the show notes too.
Yeah.
You have a book coming out.
Yeah, I got a new book coming out.
Are you talking about that yet?
Yeah.
You are? Okay.
It's called From Dropout to Doctorate. It's memoir / historical, and just my own personal testimony of how I went from, wrestling with that experience myself to finding my way into higher education and going on to earn a PhD that studies the very thing that I had to overcome.
Wow.
But I don't talk about my education in a look at me.
Yeah.
It's more, I told the college students yesterday, like, education grows you in your knowledge, and that knowledge gives you an opportunity to serve more. The more you know, the more you have an opportunity to serve. And so that's what I'm trying to do with what I've accumulated educationally, and also encourage other people to be community to those who are navigating homelessness and poverty. And you never know who they'll become. Yeah. Maybe they may be like me one day and out in the community serving people,
That's awesome.
So look out for that. And you can find me at Terence Lester. IMTERENCELESTER.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Terence.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for being on this podcast.
Yeah. I feel a sense of relief.
You do?
Yeah. I mean,
good. Were you worried before?
No, I mean, whenever you have an opportunity to share, it always make you feel a little less heavy.
I agree.
Yep.
Well, I cried about 5 times on this podcast.
I almost teared up. That's why I wore glasses.
I actually packed glasses. Oh, no, I didn't pack glasses. I was planning on wearing my glasses and I couldn't find them. I was looking for them. My chin does this thing. Matt makes fun of me. it turns into like this little old man and it shakes. And I'm like, don't, it's coming out. The old man is coming out.
Yeah. I hope many more people cry on the podcast though. Crying is a sign of release.
That's good.
Yep.
I cry a lot. So I guess I must be releasing a lot.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
good. We're good. Yeah.
Cool.
Yay.
There it is.
Hey, I just wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank you for listening, truly. This would not exist without the people that believe in this message. And so if this episode was helpful, would you share it, like it, subscribe to the podcast? It tells the platforms that our content is worthy to be put in front of more people. So it's not in an ego way, but it is in a way that we hope that this message crosses the paths of people that have never heard the message that you are so worth loving. And so I hope that you walk into this week filled with a confidence in knowing that you're worthy of love. Your worth is not a contest. It's not a competition. And walk into whatever you face this week with confidence and knowing your value and your worth. Until next time.